when we are running this, blue is the Tone King Imperial Mark II. Red is the Universal Audio Dream. They're both running through a Mesa head track, so that's switching the heads, and they're running into a SIR reactive load. Now the Dream is running through a Fryette power station, which is very transparent, and I have the speaker sim off. These would be on. But since we're running through an amp into a speaker sim, trying to just get it as clean as possible, but to compare these two. So this is essentially what it would be like to run the Dream through a very good, clean power amp, right? And that's one of the ways you can run it. You could run it through the effects loop of your amp. And then we're just running straight into the computer, and we're comparing reverb, tremolo, the different settings on the Dream, the different settings on the Tone King Imperial. Of course, we're primarily interested in, this is a version of a Fender Deluxe Reverb, and this is a version of the Fender Deluxe Reverb without this boost on. And that's our primary comparison, is between those two. So what are my thoughts? When I got the Dream, I was thinking, I really love using the Tone King Imperial, and perhaps instead of drawing all that power and using the tubes, the Dream will basically give me what I love out of the Imperial, and it would be a smaller, easier, at least for home use type of thing. And what I've kind of found is that the actual amp, the Imperial, just has the feel. It has the right feel. It feels organic, it feels like an amp, as it should. The Dream, what's interesting is when I listen back to the recordings, sounds really good. It sounds very close, and it has its own sound. They're not identical sounds, but it sounds better than it feels, is the way I would say it. In feel, as far as other modelers, it's a very nice one. It does well. Although I do prefer the Quad Cortex, actually, to the Dream in terms of feel. But it's very good, and I think many people would like it. And if you didn't have an amp directly to compare it to, you might not notice as much. But there is something a little bit hard about it. There's something in the highs that's a little bit hard. It doesn't squish enough. Something about the response is a little bit hard. And it does have, obviously, different types of sounds. Like, I didn't put a boost in front of the Imperial. I probably should have or could have to try to get some more of these lead sounds or mid-bumped. The Imperial obviously has this amazing lead channel, which is a totally different thing. If you actually bring the mid-bite all the way down, you get kind of that old Tweed Deluxe sound. But I really like the mid-bite up around here and getting that halfway to Marshall sound. It's one of my favorites. So this does have different sounds in it. As far as the reverb, I don't like this reverb as much. It's much brighter. It goes much stronger too. Halfway up here is like full way up here. This is much more background and mellow. This does sound slightly digital to me, or something about it I don't love. The tremolo is really nice up to about halfway on the Dream, and you get some good dynamic response. Like, you can play over the tremolo. It's got a more of a choppiness, like it rises and then chops down, whereas this is more of a pulsating tremolo, kind of a different feel. This goes a lot faster. You can get that, whereas this one is more like whoop, 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 as you could hear as I was demonstrated. So obviously this is 6 times the price of this. So if you have this, you're going to be happy. You're going to be able to make great music with it. As I said, in recording, it sounded better. And I actually really liked the way the lead sounded with the boost. It had kind of that, you're getting into that kind of Joe Bonamassa old style flavor, although different, but kind of that type of grind. So I was more impressed with this when I listened to it than when I played with it, which is interesting. And goes to show that this is designed to sound like the amp, and it does that. It does. Obviously, I don't have the amp they modeled this after, or the amps that they modeled this after, but
But it does do a convincing job of sounding like that, and I'm sure in a recording you would be perfectly happy with the sound of it. I'm able to speak about the feel of it, and feel for me is one of the most important things, because feel is kind of what I love about playing, right? And I could very much play with people and get good sounds out of this. So it's not like I couldn't be a creative musician with the Dream. I could. But, this heavier, much more expensive, all analog circuitry does it a little bit better for me. So I hope that's helpful.